All right, now let's say I wanted to create a sort of wave effect on this wall pocket here. It's had some time to dry, and because my paper towel is underneath and supporting it, I can start to build on it. Now, one thing about waves is if you're doing a sort of beach theme, you want to bring that wave into 3D. So you don't just want to create a little tiny wave. You want to bring that up into 3D. So this student did a really great job. One thing, the reason she was able to get it to stand up was because she supported it underneath until it dried. Another thing is that she made it way thicker at the bottom than it was at the top. And as long as things are thicker at the bottom and you support them the right way, it should do okay. Here's another way. So she brought these, she has coils here. They're sitting to create these sort of waves coming in. And then she kind of made a little bit of like a wall pocket, if you will, and blended it really nicely to create the waves that are coming up. And then wherever the water is going over the sand, she added a coil and blended it in so that on one side and then not on the other, so that there was a clear difference between the water and the sand. So if this is going to be a spot for a wave, I'm going to quick show you a sort of ripple effect. I'm going to start with a coil. And let's say here, I'm just showing kind of where water is overlapping water. So I'm going to slip and score my coil. And then I would blend it on both sides. So this would be now my fingers are kind of pushing down on my clay a little too hard, so I'm going to use my tool to blend, because it's going to have a lot less pressure than my fingers. And I can always shave this down if it's too thick. And I'm just trying to blend it right into my clay. Okay. And I want it to be nice and smooth. So once I'm done blending it, then I'm going to smooth it into my clay a little bit. And if my water comes up and over, I can kind of start to mold the clay up and over. So I can push it so that the overlap happens up here. And then something really cool is as you're folding it up and over, it might actually start to look like water and a wave's coming up and over. So I might leave that for right now. I can always get rid of it, but I'm going to leave it for right now because to me it's starting to look like water. All right, so now to create a wave, if you're not going to use a coil, the next best thing is going to be to actually use a thin slab. And it's going to be tapered. So one side you're going to apply most of the pressure to. This is one of the only times where you should let your dowel kind of roll off. Oh, I can smooth it together, but that just came off. That's okay. I'm going to make a slightly smaller wave here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to smooth out all these cracked edges here. Just by taking a little water. Whenever your clay is cracking, even if it's just a little bit, smooth it out with some water. That just means it's getting dry. All right, so I've got this sort of edge here. Now what I can do is I'm going to decide where that water's coming up and over. So I kind of think that I want it to come up and over here, and I can prop it up. You could put some paper towel or toilet paper underneath. And I'm going to just score this back part and the sides where they need to connect. Probably would help if I... Remember that your fork can be used as a scoring tool as well. And then I'm going to score the clay itself. Okay. There we go. Now I've got this gap here and I want to make sure I keep that. That's where you could support it underneath. Use my tools to start blending it into my clay. You want to blend the back part. If you're creating waves, you want to blend the back part really well. So that it looks actually like smooth water on the top and then that bumpy wave coming up throughout. Now, you've got some different textures and you can do a bunch of those. Another way to show water, you could show ripples. The best things are just to find like any sort of tool that has a rounded edge. You could use the back of a pen. These are glue little tools. And you can start to kind of draw that water ripple in there. I would suggest looking up some reference imagery of how water moves. And then incorporating that into your artwork. So that's using water. If you've got sand, I would look around your house for stuff that's textured. In the classroom, we have a texture drawer. I'm going to use this seashell and I'm just gently pressing it into my clay wherever there's supposed to be sand. And I remember that my pocket is still a work in progress and still needing to be supported underneath. But you can get this sort of really cool texture there. And that is water.